Okay folks, a little bit of a different one. I'm trying to do a breakdown on some of the components that we put back together when we're reassembling the bike. So what you see in front of you and probably just on the corner there is a refurbished rear wheel for the 1977 Kawasaki Z1000. What we try to do is assemble a library of the original books. This is the service manual from Kawasaki because it talks specifically, see how old it is, the back page has fallen off, talks specifically about the 77 KZ, as it's referred to, A1, gives you all the frame details, but more importantly, it basically allows you to disassemble and reassemble a bike completely to factory specs, which is what I like. So what we have here, the various components, this is the rear sprocket. This is all original Kawasaki equipment. We've checked the run out, so there's a warpage and shrinkage factor on these. So the warpage is obviously side to side wobble, and that's 3 mil, and we're well within that. And the shrinkage factor is these wear over time, the shape of the sprocket. You can see the shape is very regular and round and not crooked or leaning over to one side, and you have to measure the distance between the center of that and the center of that to see if that's within minimum spec, and we're well within spec on this. I actually suspect this bike wasn't used very much at all. So this has all been vapor blasted. This is an original piece from Kawasaki, so thanks again to Doug, OCD Vapour Blasting, top work mate. Same thing with the rear hub. So Doug vapor blasted all these components, and you can see it's a Kawasaki 1021 rear hub, or the sprocket carrier. So that's original to the bike. Obviously new bearings in there from All Balls Racing, so top work All Balls. That's the only company we use for our bearings. And then we have the various bolts. These are a special type of bolt, so they're captive on one side, so you can torque them to the approved spec, which is 30 foot-pounds if you're from the past, or between 3.6 and 4.4, not Newton meters, the other one, kilogram foot-pounds or something like that. Where are we? 3.6 to 4.4 kilogram meters, that's right. So we're going to torque these to kind of right in the middle, about 30 foot-pounds, if you will, or in the middle of that spec, so probably around 4 kilogram meters. We've got the book. This is an absolutely brilliant bit of kit. I've opened this because this is the sort of detail you get. It shows you not only how to reassemble the rear wheel, which direction all the bolts go in, what needs to be there, what isn't there, etc., etc., etc. Absolutely fantastic, completely invaluable, particularly when, like myself, you're not a Kawasaki tech. I cut my teeth on BMWs, so this is all quite different tech to what I'm used to. Anyway, without any further ado, let me get this off the table. We'll get that out of the way. And let me show you how a rear sprocket gets assembled. I'll start off safety first. And safety meaning I don't like grease all over my hands, so we'll go for some of these nitrile gloves, which tend to keep the worst off. Not perfect, but better than nothing, as the expression goes. So we'll get that done. And then the components for this job basically is really, really straightforward. As I mentioned, we've got the special bolts here. We have a retaining plate. So essentially these tabs get bent over the nuts, which secures the sprocket, this guy, to the sprocket carrier or the hub. So there is no particular orientation that the sprocket needs to go on the hub, but again, for consistency's sake, what I like to do is line the writing up. So on this, you can see it's a Kawasaki part number. This talks about the number of teeth, so 50133 is talking about the tooth count on this rear sprocket, and again this is a Kawasaki part, so I put the writing here, unsurprisingly, as close to being exactly on where the writing for the Kawasaki is on top. It's just for consistency's sake, and it's only OCD. So that's the first bit, and then the next piece is flip this over, and on the back you can see there are holes obviously going through, but these bolts are held captive by the standoffs in the actual carrier. You can see there's little raised pieces in there. So we do 2 at a time. I start from the top. It's pretty difficult to mess this up. Not impossible, I've done it once. That's how the carrier and sprocket actually get put together. I'll turn that over. It's my OCD kicking in again. It's good to have OCD, by the way, because then things work as they're supposed to, and I'm pretty sure the Japanese engineers that built these things had OCD, so welcome to the club. It's a good club to be in. We do that 2 more times, so pop that in there. You have to have 5 hands working on this, so it helps if you're an octopus. Same thing here, so we're going to go right over the top of this guy. Nah, wouldn't you know it, of course it's stuck. There we go, they do get a little bit bent, so right over the top of that, get a nut on there, and get a nut in there as well. There we go, that's feeling comfortable. And then same thing again, so bolts through here, flip that over, pop this guy on. It may be a girl, I don't know. We're living in those sorts of times. And this gets nuts over the top. And that is essentially the rear sprocket. Now what we'll do is we'll just nip these up. We want 30 foot-pounds. So the best way to do this that I found, because these have to stay, these bolts have to stay in this area and they tend to fall out. So the best way I found is just to get them finger tight as close as you can. So like that one's going in pretty easy, and we can start with that. And then the rest of them tend to pull down as the rest of the nuts get tightened up. So you usually find that 1 or 2 on the whole sprocket will play ball, to coin an Americanism. Okay, so I think that's probably as close as we're going to get. For those of you who are not familiar with the torque wrench, on this particular one, which is a smaller drive, we have 2 readings. One is a Newton meter scale at the top, the other one is a foot-pounds scale at the bottom. So I have this set to 30, and we're rotating it that way. So pretty straightforward, as long as I've got the right socket here. I do, that's good. We're basically just going to spin these down. I'll stand up, give me a bit more room. It's not very exciting, but has to be done properly. And then you want a flat surface, and you'll hear it click. You'll hear it click if I can get it to click over. Nearly. Right back. Okay, a more practical approach. So I can show you both the rear wheel, which is lovely, and that's at our friends at TRE Motorsports, also known as Chivos, down in Holroyd. Vintage style tyre made by Avon, so thumbs up Avon for keeping that vintage look. It's a brand new rim and stainless spokes. So back in the old days they had a zinc spoke, and these used to suffer from corrosion really, really badly. So stainless also gives a bit of bling, nice bit of curve appeal, so particularly like these. What you're looking at here is the whole assembly. So essentially it's a few different pieces, as I mentioned, the spokes, the rim, the tyre, which has could have an inner tube in it, but it doesn't. This piece right here that looks like pizza is the vibration damper that sits inside the hub. So that's a Kawasaki part. They were used on many, many different models in some shape or another, and it's just to stop the vibration from the sprocket and carrier rattling around inside the rear wheel. So they fit in like that. On the other side, of course, we've got the brakes. So these have all been refurbished, and again, you've got locking tabs and new bearings and seals in here, and a Kawasaki rear disc, which has been refurbished, repainted and ready to go. The hubs have all been reblasted as well, so they're all original Kawasaki, looking very shiny. So this assembly fits inside these pizza things, so you can see those slots go in there. So it will need to go, and again, writing side, there's some writing in here. I just lined the writing up because that's me. That fits in here, and usually requires a little tap to get it to sit all the way down. Sometimes it's just a question of rotating until it finds a place that it's happy to sit in. So sort of right about there. And then we want 30 foot-pounds in this case, and the easiest way to do it is with the wheel on the floor, so there's a bit of resistance. So I'll show you that now. I do it twice just to make sure. You'll notice I don't use power tools. There's reason for that. I find that all of these were put together in the factory by hand. If we put them back together by hand, then they're happy. If you use power tools, it strips stuff out, breaks things. It's not good. The bike is not happy, so that's it. Last one to go, so 30 foot-pounds. There we go. So that's all torqued up. The final step will be to peen these over, so these little tabs get lifted up, which I will do now. I'll just show you one, won't bother showing you all of them. There's a couple of different ways to do it. The easiest way typically is if you're reusing the old tabs, which we are, just give them a whack like that. And in fact, I need the whacking stick. Okay, back with the whacking stick. And you're basically just gonna pop the screwdriver under there, give it a hit, and then peen them up over the top. And you can use anything. You can use a punch, you can use a screwdriver. The key is you want the top of that tab to sit flat against the nut, and it's just a question of giving it enough taps to do that. And one more right here. And that's the end state of play that we want. We want a peening tab like that sits around. We'll do that on both sides, so we'll do one here as well, one there and one there. And that's the rear wheel back together. And then obviously you've got your axle. And we'll do a separate video for that one, but I thought you'd like to see how you fit a rear sprocket and carrier on a Z1000. This is common for many, many different models, Kawasaki, Honda, Yamaha. This is not a modern approach to how you fit a rear wheel, but certainly very, very prevalent back in the day for the universal Japanese machine, of which this was one. So there you go, that's the rear wheel. I'll get those fit over and I'll try to put some photos in the comments, and we'll catch you in the next video.